We finally made it.
Finally made it
in
to an
general.
episode. Yeah, we finally made it to another recording.
I know. It's been a minute.
It has.
But we're here. So give us the...
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and drink. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Allie. And we are here breaking down the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of this whole industry.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, we didn't have our Weddings Uncensored cups. We suck.
I know, but we do have our sweatshirt, t-shirt, and hat that we're representing. Please remember that all are available on Etsy. You can support the pod and represent that you are engaged and proud, and also just want to say a big F you at the same time.
Fuck
all
you,
of the
weddings.
above. I get so many compliments and comments whenever I wear my merch.
Yes, 100%.
People, it's very like, ooh, like it makes people like, oh, clutch their pearls a little bit, and I love that.
I know. I'm like, oh, where'd you get that? Don't worry. It's not a middle finger.
I know, but it's really funny how people are like, oh my God. That's crazy.
Well, I like sometimes I have to like really think about where I'm going before I put the shirt on, because I'm like, if I'm going if I go pick up my 5-year-old.
You have children.
Like
I'm not hanging out with people that I could that easily offend.
So every now and then I need to be a little PG.
You know what? No, you need to teach your kids to be badasses that flip people off.
Well, they already lie to me, so
they're on their way.
They're already on their way.
Well, we are happy to be back. It has been a little hiatus, a couple months, if we're being honest.
It's been a few months.
I don't even know. I don't even want to know.
5.
No, it has not been that. It's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years since we've talked.
We are back, and we're appreciative to all of our listeners and followers.
Yes.
Happy to get back into it. We've just been busy, and life gets in the way of recording.
For sure
sometimes.
Gets in the way, and I'm gonna be like even more, not so caring about how things look on the camera.
You say that as you're running back and forth trying to fix the camera.
I know it was too dark, and I had to fix it. So either way, I'm happy to be here. But today we're talking about flexibility.
We are talking about flexibility,
yes.
And we're talking about flexibility for vendors, for couples. And I think this stems from, we may have not recorded in a while, but Kyle and I have been lucky enough to work together a bunch recently, which is really fun.
Yes, and again,
we had again this Saturday, and I mean, I don't know if people think that we work together a lot. I mean, we work together sometimes. You work with my team.
Yeah, I work with Pop probably around 10 times a year.
Yeah. But it's not like we're working together every weekend. So it's fun when we do get to work together.
100%.
And we've had some wild ones the past month or so. And then we have another wild one coming up. So we were thinking a lot about flexibility and the need to be flexible.
Yeah. And I think from a vendor perspective, you need to be flexible because it's a team effort.
Yeah.
But we all know, like, we're all hired to do that job, so we feel the pressure to do said job really, really well.
You're a videographer, so you need to videograph well.
I need to videograph really well.
That's how it goes.
Or a photography. I need to photograph really well.
Correct.
If you're a planner, you need to plan
really well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But it's also important to realize, like, the priority is the couple,
right?
And the priority is not the product.
Totally.
And so, for example, like if I really want a shot for videography, but we don't have enough time, and the photographer hasn't gotten enough shots, and cocktail hour is still happening, but the
couple's over it and wants to go have a fucking margarita because they're done. It's not really about what you want.
It's not about what I want. They understand that they hired me for videography, but if they know they want to go have fun at cocktail hour, then let's just stop. Go have fun. Go do what you want to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so for vendors, being flexible is super important. And then we also obviously want to talk on, if you're a couple and you're planning your wedding, the importance of being flexible, and not that this is not like a warning of like, these are all the things that can go wrong. But at the same time, there are so many things. The most well-planned event ever has shit that happens on the day. And so being flexible and going into your day with an open mind is just going to lead to a successful day, a happier attitude, a more laid back energy, like all of those things, because just know that shit's going to happen.
Yes. 100%. Something will go wrong.
Something will go wrong.
Multiple things will not go exactly how you wanted it to go.
Your vendor team is doing everything in their power to ensure that doesn't happen, but there are so many things that are beyond everyone's control.
Yes.
So, yeah, we just want to talk about some of those potential pitfalls.
Yes. Or topics. Yeah, just the topics in general.
Hurdles?
Yeah, something. Yeah, I know. Oh, my camera stopped recording. Hold on. Okay, we're still good. We're recording. Awesome. Thank you.
Technical difficulties. So, yeah, so we've had some fun ones recently, but I think one that we wanted to touch on that's pretty simple but is universally a challenge is weather.
Yeah.
Mother Nature, she's a real son of a bitch. She had her own plans.
I know.
She doesn't care that you have an oceanfront ceremony.
Nope.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't care that you spent $5,000 on taper candles and then makes it windy as fuck.
No. Doesn't care that if you happen to need a tent, it's going to cost anywhere between 10 to 20 grand.
No, she doesn't give a shit.
She doesn't care. She doesn't care.
And even in Southern California, where we probably have the most reliably good weather, like I can't even imagine being a vendor. Well, I guess I can.
In the Midwest or something? I don't know.
Well, they probably have way more weddings inside.
100%.
I mean, I imagine.
But like if you're taking the risk though, and you don't live in a stable outside weather area, then you're taking a risk.
Oh my God. And here, like in LA, we have so many people that are like, but it's so cold. And I'm like, well, it's February. So like, I don't know what y'all expected,
Seriously.
but we are blessed with such good weather, like
and
80% of the time.
Even if it is cold in February, that means it's 62 degrees.
Yeah.
That's cold, you know?
Yeah. People need to get over it. But exactly. I guess the moral of this story is that weather affects everything.
Yes.
Aesthetically, your design, what kind of photo, video shots. You're not going to have those sunset photos. Yep. The weather in Southern California has been weird lately. October is usually very reliably beautiful, and
it has not been.
It has not been.
Very foggy.
Yeah.
Almost every morning for like a few hours, even on the coast.
And not nice. Yeah. I had a wedding recently, and like the reason you get married at this venue is for the ocean views. Like it's stunning. I love the Levento one. Yeah. And it was so foggy that it was wet.
Yep.
And
chairs are wet.
Yeah. And the bride basically just had to get, like, all her photos are dark as fuck. Like, she doesn't have any
that's tough.
Pretty, glowy, like, natural light.
Which is crazy because what day was this on?
A couple weeks ago.
It's a couple weeks ago.
I've lost all track of day and time. By the way, it's a busy season and we don't know what day or time it is.
This is true. But I just had an engagement session down at, it's like a Bliss Cove or something like that. Literally drove past La Venta to get to the cove over there. Yeah. Sunset was gorgeous that day. Yeah. It was still cloudy.
Yeah.
But like just shows you it can be beautiful one day and not visible the other day, you know? So weather is absolutely important.
So being flexible, being open-minded, and also like, I mean, this is from a planner perspective, but like have a plan B, consider those options because if you do already have it in your brain, you will be less disappointed when it inevitably happens. Yeah. Like I always tell people, for like stupid small example, but like candles or escort cards on your tables, like anything paper is going to be gone if there is even a breath of wind. It doesn't even have to be windy, like a breath of wind. So how can we mitigate that risk without it even being a thing? You know, so you're not going to be disappointed that you spent all this time hand calligraphying place cards and they didn't fucking stay and we had to tuck them under the glasses.
Or even the flowers, like sometimes during the ceremony site, if it's outdoors, like if they don't have a stronger or heavier base,
and
they're just gonna fucking keep flopping over all the fucking time. Can't tell you how many weddings, you know, they have the really tall pillar and then the vase of the flowers just chilling up there. And then all it takes is a little wind. It's top heavy and boom, crashing down.
So think about those things like worst case scenario, what is this going to look like? And then just know, right? It's a risk reward. Like, am I willing to risk that it could be windy, but I'm absolutely in love with this design?
Exactly.
Cool, do it. And also just consider what a tent is going to cost early on. I don't care if you're getting married in July. Like, just consider already know that, budget it in your brain. If you're not going to use it, it's going to be a happy $10,000 savings. Yep. But you are going to be really sad when you have to book that 2 weeks before your wedding. And it's not only like ruining your vision, but it's also really fucking expensive.
Yes.
So,
and I think too, though, there have been so many weddings where it has been outside and there is a tent. and they still look gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely.
100% can still look gorgeous. So like this is one of those things where like it's not just bad.
No.
But a lot of it isn't bad. Yeah. It can be a bad thing if you don't prepare yourself. Yeah. You know, like if you're not prepared and you want to have an outdoor ceremony and you're not willing to you want to take the risk. Yeah. You got to be ready to cough it up for the tent, basically.
So yeah, weather is a cruel, cruel mistress. Yes. So just prepare yourself for that.
The next one is timeline. You want to save timeline for last? That's a juicy one.
Well, it's my favorite.
Let's talk about the wedding guests. Yeah, let's talk about the wedding guests first. Okay. And then do time. We'll end with timeline.
You have to be flexible because there are going to be humans at your wedding.
Yes.
And humans sometimes suck.
A lot of times, guys.
And, I think we've talked about this before, but like, you cannot expect people to be different just because it's your wedding, right? Yes. So your aunt who drinks too much and is flaky and whatever is still gonna like cause a scene at she's not gonna be well behaved because it's your wedding. Your sister, your mom, whatever, all these different people are still going to be themselves.
Yes.
And
they're just going to be dressed differently.
Yeah. On Friday's wedding that we worked together, Cameron was our bride, and our running joke was like the dads are dadding again because they were trying to like out dad each other, like with how like helpful they were, and so in turn we're like the opposite of helpful.
Yes.
And so we just kept texting each other like the dads are dadding, like just let them go,
let them do their thing.
Let them do their thing. Someone is going to be there to annoy you.
Yes. Yes,
to
100%.
Mess something up. Your cousin is going to bring a date. She's going to be wearing white. She's going to throw up. It's not going to be pretty. But you know what? The show must go on. Like, these things happen.
It really does. Okay, wait, hold on. There is the wedding. The wedding I just shot on Saturday was at the Harper in Costa Mesa, and there was a couple, not the wedding couple, a guest couple. I think it was like a groom's brother, and like a girlfriend or something, but they were being way too physically affectionate on the dance floor. And then there was times where they were the only people on the dance floor,
just like humping.
And then they left the reception area, and then a shooter of ours happened to also go outside, go run to their car for something, and found the couple in a car, in the car moving around right outside the venue. I'm just like, yo,
good for them.
Good for them. But man, I mean, like, you saw them on the dance floor. You're like, yo, just go somewhere.
Yeah.
And they actually did.
And they did. Well,
just right outside the venue.
At least they left the venue, but
yeah, exactly.
But no, people are running their own program. They're doing their thing. I think
they're having a great old time.
And you're feeding them open bar. Like, what do you
expect?
You got them hammered,
exactly.
Like crazy. So, crazy Uncle Joe's gonna bring up Trump, and your brother's gonna brother's gonna fuck his girlfriend in the car. So just know that's gonna happen. Like, there's no escaping it, and humans are gonna human.
Oh man. I wish that was a thing though, that you're not allowed to bring up politics at a wedding. I have unfortunately have heard it like with other guests talking about it, and it totally just dampers the mood.
It's so funny.
It totally.
There's a meme floating around where it's this bride. She's trying to design her seating chart, and she's like, his whole family's from Texas, and my whole family's from California, and she's like,
it's like
looking she's like looking at how to make the seating chart, and she's like, I don't know. Like, it's pretty funny, but yeah. So I think just being flexible with your expectations of the folks that are involved, your wedding party, your family, your guests, and also being flexible with the humans that are your vendors.
Yep. 100%. Oh yes, especially your vendors. I mean, there's gonna be times where your vendors do fuck up on something.
They are human,
and hopefully
too.
You don't want it to be at your wedding, but think of it this way: at least one vendor at every wedding will fuck up.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have at least one thing on your wedding day that a vendor is gonna fuck up on.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna happen. Like we make errors. I made one.
We try really hard.
Yes, 100%. There was one. I remember the couple, but I remember it was April 26th. I don't remember if it was a 2024 wedding or a 2023 wedding. But we made a contract, and they asked specifically for, they got the highlight video, and they also wanted Super 8. And I was like, cool, sweet, no problem. I got the Super 8. It's actually right up here. And the wedding time goes on, and it's about a month or 2 months before the wedding, and they wanted to add additional time. So I have to revise the contract, and I accidentally replaced the Super 8 footage with the additional time.
Right.
And so when I go and look at the contract, and this is an associate shooter wedding, so
and the couple re-signed the contract.
And the couple re-signed the contract. Yeah. So like when I go to send this information over to the associate shooters, I go and look at the contract. I don't think to go look at version 1 to make sure I didn't mess up on it.
Yeah.
I've already fucked up. So they get to the wedding, and the groom's like, "Where's the Super 8?" And then I get a text. How bad do I feel?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm out shooting another wedding, and I messed up, and I can't give Super 8. You know, I could do a preset or something, but like it's not the same.
Yeah.
So mistakes do happen.
Right.
It really does.
And guess what though? That did not ruin their wedding day.
It didn't ruin the wedding.
It didn't ruin their wedding day.
Yeah.
And
I gave them raw footage.
I'm sure. If your clients or if your vendors fuck up, they'll probably do whatever they can.
Exactly.
To
I didn't
make
just
it right.
say my bad. You know,
no.
I absolutely gave them additional things. So
totally. And as coordinators, I mean, we're balancing literally every detail that all the vendors know, right? Like I should also know that Kyle should have Super 8. I should know whatever. Like just on Friday, the venue is supposed to have cornhole out there. It should have been in my notes too. Technically, it wasn't my fault. It was the venue's fault. But as a coordinator, I should. But like shit will happen.
Exactly.
And their lack of cornhole did not ruin their day. The bride was disappointed for about 30 seconds, and then she moved on.
Yep.
It's totally, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel disappointed.
Yes.
You're allowed to have
100%.
a moment.
It's your wedding day. Of course you're going to feel disappointed.
You're allowed to take a breath and be like, this fucking sucks. I'm going to take a shot of tequila, and then I'm going to move on.
Yes.
Like,
go ahead and just give it a good fuck.
Yes.
And then we're just going to move on, you know?
Yeah. And it's so crazy because when you do work with clients that are flexible and when things go awry and they just take it in stride, you just know, I mean, it feels so good. You know that their experience is better. All of our experience is better. That they're going to look back at the day and just not have this, like, this one thing, like, they didn't have the cornhole and that, you know,
100%.
who cares? Don't get hung up on that stuff, you know?
I mean, I know it doesn't make a difference, but like I understand and we understand we're servicing somebody's wedding day.
Yeah.
Like it's an important
day. Yeah.
There's already a lot of pressure for us to perform really well or to do our job and give you the best because you hired us for our best, you know? So but
we are still human.
We are still human.
Yeah.
Obviously there are definitely lines, you know, if we break contracts and things like that.
Of course.
Those are different situations. I think what we're talking about specifically is like the little things, like cornhole wasn't there. Like, yeah, that fucking sucks.
Well, and even the big things. Okay, for example, that wedding also at La Venta that a couple months ago, the officiant was in the emergency room.
Oh,
and
shit.
I had to step in and officiate, which is wild in and of itself. But
funny that I was actually the videographer.
I know, you were there for that one too. I'm telling you, we had some weird ones this year. But like, I was more nervous about going to tell the couple. Than even going up to officiate, which, by the way, I was very nervous about.
No, I remember you coming up and asking me, like, do I tell the couple
do I tell them now?
Or
do I wait?
just wait? Do I just go? Because the situation will happen. Like, all of this shit was happening in the background for, like, what? At least a few hours, the whole morning.
And
basically.
I'm also doing my job, trying to coordinate everything.
Exactly.
And then, but I told the bride, I could see, like, a little sink in her face for a minute. And then she was like, okay, Allie, you're going to do a great job. And guess what? I did. I went out there and I did my best.
You did a fantastic job.
That is, I would say, that would qualify under like a big deal.
That's a big deal.
You hired an officiant, especially.
And it wasn't like, let's just say, it wasn't a Craigslist. Efficient either. You know what I mean? This was an efficient that like
they paid good money for.
They paid good money for it. There was a great service that the efficient still provided. You know what I mean? There was a script, luckily. Totally. You know what I mean? Like there was an investment that the couple made with this efficient. So it was a big deal.
But yeah, I think for couples to have flexibility with the humans that they invite and also the humans that they hire, and knowing that shit happens.
Yep, 100%. The last thing, timeline.
Well, what about booze? Didn't you say you had a good booze story?
Oh, yeah, I did have a good booze story.
Well, I think that just falls you tell me your story.
This is kind of like, it falls into the guest, but it's like knowing yourself, because it was the whole bridal party. I shot a wedding up in Lake Arrowhead a couple weeks ago, And the bride and groom at the wedding rehearsal, unfortunately, got way too fucked up. Yeah. And by way too fucked up, I show up on the morning, or not even the morning, it's like 2:00 the next day. And both of them are like, you could see it in the photos and in the videos. Like they're just trying to muster it through the photos. And for video, that's hard because for photo, you can, and then immediately go back to your RBF because you're not doing well. Yes. But for video, I see the whole transaction of what just happened.
And it's not as easy to like Photoshop out that like
you
bloodshot eye or whatever. Yeah.
You smile for 0.5 seconds. Yeah. That's a 1 second clip. Yeah. And you have a 3-minute video. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So definitely just be smart. That's not even like the flexibility. Just be smart before the wedding day. Don't get too fucked up, please.
For sure. Still falls into the same category, but yeah. Okay, so timeline. Yes. I mean, again, same general concept, but we design a timeline. I would say my proudest thing of what I do is design timelines.
Also, if you haven't already, don't stress about a timeline. If you haven't made one already, just buy the fucking workbook.
Oh, there you go.
Guys, we have it available for you.
On our
Allie,
Etsy
tell
shop.
them.
Allie, tell them. For $25, you can have the Weddings Uncensored Ultimate Wedding Planning Workbook.
It's called something like that.
That gives you an entire, 3 different pages of timeline building information.
Yes.
And if you've listened to any episode, you know how important timeline is. And as a wedding coordinator who's done this almost every weekend for the last 10 years, I would say timeline is still, I think, the most important part of the day.
It's the holy grail.
It's the holy grail of how.
It is the holy grail of the day.
It's how we're communicating to vendors. It's how we are communicating to our wedding party. It's how we're going to keep things on track.
Wedding party, your vendors, your guests, literally everyone. Yes. So please, if you haven't already, go buy the damn workbook. So yes, the timeline.
Yes. So I make beautiful timelines. I have been around the block a few times. I know how to build in wiggle room, add some extra padding. Yes. I know how long shit takes. Yep. Sometimes weddings, I am on the fucking money, to the minute, to the nut. But often that doesn't happen.
I know. And that may not happen, not from something you did.
No, it's usually not something that I did.
It's usually, I would say almost every time.
Almost never something that I did.
It's usually not something you did.
No.
Usually the first one is hair and makeup. That's usually the first one.
Yeah, we're gonna have problems with hair and makeup. Again, all those pesky humans. Someone's gonna be late. Someone's gonna be hungover. Yep. You're gonna forget your socks at the hotel, and someone's gonna have to go run back. I mean, things are going to happen that are going to mess up the timeline.
Half of your bridesmaids are being really picky about their hair and makeup. And now each vendor has to spend 10 more minutes on each of your 6, 7 bridesmaids.
Yep.
That's another hour.
The bride decides she wants to do a first look with dad. Well, that wasn't on the timeline.
That wasn't on the timeline.
Okay.
It wasn't long, but we added another 5 minutes. Yep. Guess what? That 5 minutes, it really adds up. It takes somewhere. You know what I mean?
Catering. I mean, every vendor, DJ, everyone has like a hand in it. Yep. And along with all of the things that we can't control, again, such as weather, such as, like these different things that will affect it too. So,
because of the weather, maybe portrait session has to be right after first look because it's going to be shit weather for the rest of the day. It's going to rain.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we have, clients, like, obviously having a timeline is super important, starting there, but knowing that things will ebb and flow, that something will run late, something will run early. And really, I would say 99% of the time, it all kind of evens out in the end. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, we were 15 minutes late for ceremony, but then we were able to move up dinner and it all kind of ended the same way. Mm-hmm. But that is just, it's huge to know. And I think for me as a coordinator, what I really try to get to the bottom of when I talk to my clients and we're creating a timeline is like, what is your priority? Because then I can shift and adjust everything else around that thing. Yes. So is your priority having this really gorgeous family style dinner and like not rushing and like you wanting to enjoy? Or are you like, Allie, I want to rush through this timeline as fast as I can so that we have more time for dancing than anything? Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people's priorities. Yep. Or I have one coming up. They want a 2-hour-long cocktail hour. I advise them not to. That's what they want. Okay,
cool,
great.
Done.
We'll work it all around, So it doesn't really matter what the timeline looks like. I just think it's important to know what your priority is.
Yep.
And then let your coordinator or whoever is helping know that, like, at the end of the day, when shit goes awry with this timeline, which it may, this is what I want.
Yep.
So cut the cocktail hour short, ditch the portrait session, whatever, in order to execute this thing.
Yep, 100%. I think, too, from the vendor perspective, it is our job to service the couple. So I think we even need to make sure that we're still being flexible with the service that we're providing for the couple. So let's just say it's photo and video, for example. I may know that I would love to have an hour and a half of getting ready before. But if the couple really only wants 6 hours of service, one photographer and one videographer, well, then guess what? We're not going to get the getting ready. Does that mean that I'm not going to be giving them a product that I'm not happy with? No, I'm just giving them something that doesn't look like, quote unquote, the average, right? So it may not be exactly what you always provide from as a vendor, but still go through the same motion and give your best, whatever that may look like. Because there's so many times, like, I'm a bad example for videography because I am a traditional videographer in the sense of, like, everything is pretty sequential. And if you don't want to do something, I say, fuck it, don't do it. You know what I mean? I don't care. I just want you to go have fun, and I'm just going to bring a camera. You know what I mean? That's my job. But I know plenty of other photographers and videographers that will feel so, like, incomplete and unhappy when they don't have enough time for a portrait session, or they don't have enough time for a flat lay, or, you know what I mean? Like, or they don't have the sweeping gimbal shot of the couple walking through, you know, an empty reception area. So I think just remembering, as the vendor, let's just be flexible in the service that we're providing and not get caught up in what we feel like we have to give them.
I like that.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I think that's really good. And it kind of goes back to, you know, I think speaking specifically with photo video, as a couple, when you're looking at your vendors and looking at your timeline and managing your expectations, you know, are you expecting that gimbal shot in the empty reception room?
Exactly.
Well, that better be on your timeline. And again, so, like, it really does all tie in. Like, being flexible means you're going to lose your cocktail hour in order to get this shot. And if you're good with that, then that's the trade-off, and that flexibility is good for you. But you can't have it all.
Exactly. If the couple is communicating with the vendors of, hey, this is what the timeline looks like, and this is what the day looks like, I'm going to get the timeline from the planner, and I'm going to look at it and be like, oh, okay, let's just, like, this Saturday, they got 6 hours. First look is at 2:00, but dancing ends at like 8:30 or starts at 8:30. Now it's just hey, couple, you've booked 6 hours. Where do you want me to start? I'm not going to get upset by saying, oh, I'm missing the first look. Oh, I'm not getting dancing. Oh, I'm not getting this. It's like, guys, I'm happy with what I'm charging. And if you want to stay longer, then go ahead and stay longer. I know photographers that do that. But I don't do that. You know, however long you paid for is however long I'll stay.
What you're going to get. Exactly.
And I'm happy to be there. You know what I mean? So
No, I think it's a really good example of flexibility on all sides of things. And
I'm
vendors
sure they can go with florals and cakes.
Vendors just need to remember to get their own fucking heads out of their asses, and that
it's not about you.
It's not about you. Put your ego to the side. I know you're an artist. But guess what? You're hired by a couple to do a job.
Just do it.
Shut up.
Just do it. Just do it. I do. There's a good, probably a good balance. I'll be the devil's advocate on the vendor side. Is the vendor should also communicate what the service and the product will look like once the expectation has been set from the couple.
Yes.
So if the couple tells us, like you said, they want the sweeping gimbal shot, but they've never communicated that to the videographer, that's not the videographer's fault.
No.
The florals had to be a certain way and they never communicated it. They just said, here's the colors and the flowers. That's not the vendor's fault. That's the couple's fault for not communicating the expectations.
For sure. Yes.
A little bit devil's advocate for the vendors. I got you out there. Yes.
No, it's your fault. Well, yeah, I think that's good. So cheers to flexibility.
Cheers.
And may we be very flexible going into this weekend where we have a bit of a doozy. I feel like this wedding's going to need its own recap, but we're going to just knock on wood, cross our fingers. We're knocking on all the things. And we're going to get through. October is the busiest wedding month of the year, in case a lot of people don't know that. At least in Southern California, it's the busiest. Mm-hmm. So we are putting our heads down and just going to power through this month, and it's going to be great.
Love you.
Because we're flexible.
Yes.
See you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Maybe it's not Tuesday.